Good evening, everyone. As I am getting set up here, come on in. Give people time and a chance to come on. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Sorry, I got some cards on this table. How's everybody doing? As you come into the live, tell me where you're from. Type in the box, tell me where you're from. Give me 1 second too. I need to do something. This is not going. Yeah. I'm still here, but tell me where you're from. Okay. Had to do something really quickly. Now tell me where you're from. Come on, you guys are on here. Tell me where you're from. Say hey, say something. I'm Dr. Tory J. Evans Barton. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. Hey, Teresa. Yeah, you from Arizona. Yeah. Hey, girl. You don't know where I'm. Well, I didn't see you on here. Y'all act like I can see y'all, but I can't. I actually can't. Not from StreamYard. I can't see who's on. Now, if I go onto my iPad, I can sometimes see who's on here. Let me see. I ain't even trying to do all of that. But tonight we're going to have a conversation. And as I was saying, I'm Dr. Tory J. I am the founder and CEO of this amazing organization called the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach, cognitive behavioral practitioner. I am a mediator. And I do a few other things. I'm a licensed and ordained minister, which I think is important, especially when we get on here and we start talking about biblical principles and scriptures. Y'all be like, whoa, where'd that come from? That's going to come from the depths of who I actually am. I enjoy talking to you guys on Healing Tuesday, but I recognize that can't really talk about healing if I don't add the component of God. And I can tell you, it has been a true blessing to be able to talk about God and a relationship with him on this, simply because there are times when I get emails from different dads and they're telling me, hey, when I centered my relationship around God, I got a phone call and I'm now able to see my children. I don't even know what that means. You should have hit up my dad for me. I've already tried. I don't even know what that means, Tanner, but okay. I don't even know what that means. Good evening, Dwayne. But yeah, so that's, I'll let you explain that as we go along in the conversation, if you'd like to, Tanner. But I want to talk tonight. We're going to get into co-parenting. We discussed it last week. I know it's a difficult situation. I know people are like, well, what does she know about co-parenting? There's some things I do know about co-parenting. I do have, I will say I have a bonus daughter. And that's always, I don't even know how to explain that at this point, but I just need you to understand that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've even dealt with it. I had to take a nap today after one situation. It was really, really challenging today. I'll go into that right now. Why not? So we're working on a mediated agreement. I am, like I said, I'm a mediator. So in mediating, sometimes that works well, sometimes it doesn't. Mediation takes time. Dad got everything he wanted. Mom was cool with it. She was like, okay, but if he messes up, then this is how we're going to move this. I was like, that's cool. We're going to do a progression. The baby's 4. Dad starts having inappropriate conversations with the baby. She's only 4 when she's visiting him last weekend. And of course, when you're walking through this mediated agreement, the baby goes home and tells mom, well, Dad said you don't know how to share. It's an appropriate Like the context was appropriate, but talking about mom, not appropriate. Not when you know you have a volatile person, right? Not when you know the person goes back and forth all the time. And so I had to explain to dad that you might have thought that was okay, but in the throes of mediation, that's going to create a situation where she's going to renege, I guess, or she's going to say, you know what? I ain't going to give him all of that. Sometimes you just got to avoid conflict in the midst of your mediation. And that's the part I want to talk to you guys about, because in the conversation I had to have with mom, let me turn this down too. I had to have with mom, it got pretty defensive. That's what you guys don't know. I talked to mother and father. Okay. I talked to both. But as I'm talking to mom, I'm talking about what I discussed last week. And so that's really where this topic really developed from. Let me go through some of the things I talked about last week. The pain of co-parenting is the series that we're on. We're going to cover 3 different things. Number 1, we talked about missing your children when they're gone away from you. It is heartbreaking. It is grieving. It is all of these things that you feel. And I began to read some of the blogs that I've posted on our social media pages that really dealt with when children leave the home. Parents feel this gut-wrenching, heartbreaking sense of loss. Although they're coming back, it's this place of loss that parents feel. And then that begins to fuel the conflict, right? So I shared that with the young lady. She was like, I ain't got no feelings about it. And I was just like, oh my God. If you don't have emotions around it, then you wouldn't respond in that way. And so what we have to recognize is co-parenting is going to have lots of emotions involved in it. It's going to have tons. But in order to do it effectively, we've got to do some work and do some things. I want to talk first. I didn't do this last week, but can we talk about what effective co-parenting actually looks like? Some people said, well, you can't co-parent by yourself. Prayerfully, maybe your ex will run across this video. Maybe somebody slide it into their inbox. Something. The goal is to get both parties to hear conversations such as this so that effective co-parenting can take place. That situation I'm dealing with that I'm mediating for a county in Georgia, they're going to have to do some of this work because the emotions that are involved can't be involved at a level that they are and effectively co-parent. Just can't happen. So let me go ahead and breathe as I'm going to share some of this, because I'm going to tell you today, they took me out. I had to take a nap after I got off the phone with them, you guys. And I know people want to talk about certain aspects of effective co-parenting. I'm always going to take you down a different track. So here we go. So in a healthy co-parenting situations, both parents are involved in the child's day-to-day life. Now, I know people are going to jump in here. Well, I'm alienated. They're not going to let me do it. See, that's the problem. That's not effective co-parenting. Co-parents communicate effectively and share the responsibilities of parenting, including the financial, logistical, and the emotional ones. Okay. To be a good co-parent, you must communicate respectfully. When hurdles come up, you got to work through those things, and you got to do it in the best interest of the child. Once again, somebody likes to hog all the attention at times because they think that they have more of a right to the child. And once you get, the law involved, people start to say things like, well, we're not married, so I have more rights to the child, or we're not this or that, or I have more this and that. I get it, but it doesn't mean that that's beneficial to the child. You hogging all the time, setting up roadblocks and hurdles for the other parent, that's not effective co-parenting, and that is not beneficial for the child. Let me tell you what happens when you start doing these things. When you start doing these things and then later on the child discovers that you're doing these things, you are going to lose your relationship with that child. You're going to lose it. Or you're going to have such a crazy bond with that child that it's going to look dysfunctional. It's going to be crazy, and people aren't going to be able to get into the relationship. Let's say it's a boy. I'm going to get into that later because I don't want to jump the gun on this, because y'all know I can jump the gun on some of this conversation. In most healthy co-parenting relationships, parents allow each other to express their own parenting style when they're with their child. Word or phrases like "my child" hinders someone being able to actually express their own parenting style. Gatekeeping. That's a conversation we've had before. That's a conversation that's often around the whole idea of parental alienation. What is she doing over there? What does he do? Who cares what the other parent is doing when the child is with them, as long as at some point you guys have a goal in mind and you can work together as a team on what the child needs. I'll talk about that a little later too. Co-parenting doesn't have an actual definition per se. I'm giving you some ideas as to what it looks like. These are some of the things that I looked up and I jotted down and added some things to it. But I want you to realize that co-parenting is actually a lifestyle. That's what it is. You're going to be co-parenting. I know people say 18. It's the rest of your life in many ways. And those who are now in relationship with an individual who has children outside of their relationship, you've got to give it space and recognize that co-parenting is for a lifetime. It's communicating and collaborating with your ex in a way that is peaceful, respectful, fair, and with your child's well-being in mind. Making sure that you know that it's okay for the child to have time with the other parent. Hold on. I'm going to put this up here. Dwayne says, I've been trying to tell my ex this. He's going to remember everything. Dwayne, he's going to remember everything. My prayer is that when he remembers, he will be able to navigate it in the proper way so that he can heal, everybody can heal, and he can walk through it. Because, Mom, it's going to be a horrible thing when your son walks out of your life because he doesn't want anything to do with you because of how you navigated co-parenting with his father. It's not going to be what you want. I'm telling you right now. So here, I want to talk about a couple of things. I got to go to something that I jotted down because I think it's super important. A lot of us don't typically recognize this. And I know you guys want to talk about co-parenting and all this, like y'all want to always get on the parental alienation. There are plenty of pages for that. I'm going to say it that way. There are plenty of pages for that. I'm trying to always give you a different perspective and give you an idea on how to make your situation better. When you're co-parenting with an ex, the conversation I want to have tonight is what happens in that situation is it causes you to revisit the brokenness of the relationship, the failure of the relationship. It causes anxiety when you have to do the exchange, not just at the exchange, but even leading up to the exchange. I mean, the exchange starts way before you even get to the place or get to the house or there's triggers that are happening and you must figure out your triggers. Now, I always tell my clients in my coaching group, triggers are our teachers. It's teaching us where we haven't healed. That's the number one issue with so many individuals who are co-parenting. You haven't even done the work to heal from the broken relationship. And now you have to go pick up a child from the person who cheated on you, from the person who broke your heart, from the person who filed for divorce, from the person who didn't do the things that needed to be done in order to save the relationship. So now that's what you're dealing with. A trigger is actually something like an event or a situation, real or whether you imagined it, that causes a reaction from you or a response. All of us have triggers, but you got to figure out what your triggers are. What pushes your buttons? I know people are like, she just knows how to push my buttons. He just knows exactly how to push my buttons. I need you to recognize that many of those buttons weren't developed by that person. They were developed in your childhood. That's where we're going to go with this conversation next week, where we talk about how the pains of co-parenting happen because it causes you to re-experience the trauma and dysfunction of your childhood. We're going to talk about that next week. But this week, I want to get into it's revisiting the relationship now. You're having PTSD in the midst of this exchange with the children. He said, I'm praying. I see you. Communicate, open-minded, protect, attentive, raise, equal, nurture together. Not everybody knows how to play fair in the sandbox. They don't know how to share. And I get that because this is what they're doing. They're dealing with triggers. They're dealing with the buttons that are being pushed and they're anxious. They got all this stuff that's causing lots of conflict. And nobody likes to be in a position where their triggers are being fueled. Their negative thoughts are being fueled by these triggers. Nobody wants to deal with that. I want us to realize that, kind of look at what's triggering you from your ex. I want you to figure that out. Like, what is it? Is it the breakup? Her voice just sets me off. Is it her voice, or you just remember how much she nagged when you were with her? Why do you feel anxious when you're in her presence or his presence? What negative thoughts are you having that are fueling not only your triggers, but conflict? I want you to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself a few questions that maybe you're not asking yourself before you go into this situation. You guys are not looking at, you guys are like, well, it's parenting and it just should be fair and it should just be, but you guys are dealing with pain that is associated with the relationship, but also associated with your childhood. You've got all of this stuff working in tandem, working together, creating conflict, creating alienation, creating a situation where you're repeating cycles and habits that you didn't even heal from. You haven't even healed from this situation because there wouldn't be that much emotion around it if you had. That's the part that I want you to connect with and recognize. Why is all my phones and stuff are going off like crazy tonight? And it's not, well, okay, that is about that. Somebody's texting me about this. Okay. So you guys are dealing with things that you haven't dealt with. Like when I say dealing with things you haven't dealt with, that's a weird statement, right? You haven't taken the time to heal from the broken places in the marriage. You've already moved on in a new relationship, and now you got to come pick up the child. And yeah, the relationship, maybe it was over well before you even broke up or separated or divorced. Maybe it was already over. Maybe it was already in that position. So you feel the right to move on. Part of the issue is you've got to clean up stuff, though. You got to clean it up and finish it up. Maybe the relationship, maybe you shouldn't look at the relationship as failed. Maybe that was the end of it. Maybe that's the completion of the relationship. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what all of your situations are for those who are watching and for those who will watch. I don't know your situation. This is what I do know. Many of you are moving on without actually moving on. You get what I'm saying? Your heart is still entangled in it. You're still mad. Yeah, because mad and anger is still entangled. It's still an emotion. You're all in it. Your heart's still in it, but you've moved on. But when the person shows up, oh, they're triggering you like crazy. Why are you triggered by somebody you moved on from? Because you haven't moved on. Your heart is still entangled. And yes, when you have children with someone, that's going to keep you tied to them for quite some time. But if you do the work, the pain of co-parenting will be less and less and less. It takes you going through the process of healing from that relationship. Stop sliding under new people and you haven't even healed, because what you're doing is bringing that new person into the brokenness of the relationship you're still entangled in. As Jada Pinkett said, it's an entanglement. Her and Will was still together, but not together. They were through, but not through. So it became an entanglement. Y'all got entanglements, wondering why it's causing such conflict, wondering why the conflict can't just die down, wondering why. Well, they've got a whole new spouse and they've got a whole new situation. You know how many times I hear that? Oh, she's married to someone else. I don't even understand, because the heart is still entangled. I'm still mad at you. I'm still frustrated how you treated me. I'm still heartbroken. I'm still all of these things. So I haven't gotten past it. Yeah, I've moved on because we ain't going to be together. But my heart is still broken up about it. My heart is still, I got a feeling towards you. That's why so many people go into court lying with false allegations, because now the goal is to hurt the other person. I read something earlier today, and the conversation was, a lot of people, they don't forgive, and they're expecting, because they're expecting the other person to participate in their forgiveness, right? They're expecting closure, but forgiveness is not tied to that. And if you're wanting a person's apology, or them to talk to you and give you closure, that's not forgiveness. That's actually vindication. You're looking for vindication. Vindication doesn't happen that often, but I stand on God's word where he says, vindication belongs to him. Vengeance is mine. Like, he's going to vindicate you. You don't have to worry about it. I have a classmate right now who her husband, after 20 something years, they've divorced, and 20 something years of divorce, he came and apologized to her and said, you know what? It was actually me all that time. It may take 25 years. You don't know that. But a lot of people are waiting for that moment. And in waiting for that apology or waiting for that situation, you're holding yourself hostage into a situation that's causing the pain of your co-parenting. It's causing you frustration. It's causing you strife. It's causing conflict that leads into that day of the exchange. And it's starting well before the exchange, as I said a moment ago. I want to go here. I typed stuff out in a Word document for myself so I can stay on course here. Where'd it go? Huh. Did I close it? No. I'm not that crazy. So here's some challenges that causes the pain of co-parenting. The failure of the relationship is painful and sad. And when there are children in the mix, the situation can become even more emotional. And when you add emotions to it, guess what happens? It becomes volatile. The emotions is what makes it volatile. And I know people are like, well, I'm not. And I don't have. You do. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any emotions involved. How do I say this? And I'm going to keep hammering this because there are some people who need to wake up and smell the coffee, that you still got some things in your heart concerning that person. You very well may still love that person, and you need to own that. Oh no, I don't love him. All of that, and I'm being real ghetto because that's what I hear during the day sometimes, and it ain't just from certain cultures. I'm telling you, hey Darren, I'm telling you, I hear some terms and vernacular from people. I'm like, I don't love him anymore. I don't have anything in my heart concerning him. Then why are you angry? Why are you playing these games? Why are you using the children as pawns? Why are you, doing all of these different things to create havoc and frustration in the situation? Because there's something in your heart that is creating that. And I go back to the failure of the relationship is so painful and so sad. And then when there are children in the mix, that makes it even more emotional, which adds to the situation and makes it volatile. So it's going to be something until you work through the healing. I want to go here as well. If you're hurting from a breakup, it might feel impossible to raise a child with the one person in the world who loves your child as much as you do. Let that sink in. If you're hurting from the breakup, it's going to be very much so painful. It's going to feel damn near impossible to raise a child with the one person in the world who loves that child as much as you do. Do you hear that? They love the child just as much as you do. Do you hear that? Whoever you are, it hurts. So I don't want them to go with, they don't want to go with their dad this time. You know how many times I've heard that? I'm like, they're 6. Do you let them choose where they go any other time? No, but they don't want to go with their dad, so I'm not going to make them go with their dad. Do you let them choose what they eat for dinner or if they want to go to school? No. This is the only time I watch parents, because I've watched men do it too. Some of you men are pretty petty as well. I watch children get to decide if they're going to go or not. Well, they don't want to go. Yeah, because the breakup, the pain of it is so bad that it's impossible for you to see yourself parenting with this other person. But I want you to remember the line, the one other person who loves the children just as much as you do. That means that yes, they may parent different than you, but they're not going to let the children starve. They're not going to kill the children. They're not going to cause any harm to the children because they love the children just as much as you do. I know that part where you're like, but but they hurt me. And I don't know how to get there. Don't use the children and a time, an opportunity, I guess, when the father should be spending time, because I know who's getting this majority of the time. Don't use the children as a way to pay that person back or get your own vindication, as we were talking about earlier. That's going to come with time if that person did you wrong. That's going to come with time. You don't get to do people wrong and you not pay the consequences. But we're not going to use children as the payback, as the consequence. We're not going to use their children as that. You've got to allow God to be God in these situations. Many of you are being God yourself in these situations. You're like, yeah, God, I got that. I'm going to pay him back. I'm going to pay her back. I'm going to put my new girlfriend in the car when we go on the exchange. Why would you do that? Well, she's my girlfriend, or she's my fiance, or she's my wife. Your wife should stay at home during the exchange. What's the problem? Or if you're going out of town, your wife should be at the hotel room waiting for y'all to get back. Wife don't need to get in the car knowing it's a situation. Many of you create the conflict with the pettiness because the pain is so intense. And when I tell you the pain is so intense, you find it impossible. So impossible is this place where I'm not going to do it. You actually, I'm going to read it this way. I'm going to say it this way because I typed this out. If you're hurting from the breakup, you don't want to raise the child with the one person in the world who loves them as much as you do. You've decided that I'm not going to raise the child with this one person. I'm not going to do it because the pain is so great. So now I'm going to do all of these things to create pain inside the co-parenting. I'm going to ensure that my children don't see their father. Then you're creating more pain. You're creating more pain for the child. And I know you guys are like, because I see it a lot when I post things about dads on social media. I see it all the time. Women are like, whoops, I want to read something to you guys. Women are like, my children are fine. They didn't have their father. Their father wasn't this, he wasn't that. My children are fine. I promise you they're not. They're missing some things. They're missing some things. You can't be it all, Mom. You can't do it all. They're struggling in some areas. Well, they have successful careers and yeah, because we're performers. We know how to do that. We know how to show up for work and get that money. But emotionally, where are they? Where are they? I posted this on our page a few weeks ago. August 24th exactly was the date. A father is human. I'll even say a mother is human because she is, but I'm adding to this. He has his own traumas, and alienating him from his children may very well activate those traumas. We're going to add, women are alienated too. I want to introduce the idea even tonight that when a father is alienated, or when a mother is alienated, or when you're going through these issues of co-parenting, many of you, which is what we're going to talk about next week, it is causing you to relive, re-experience your childhood traumas and dysfunctions. You didn't ask for it then, and you still haven't figured it out now. Like, no one figured it out, so everybody's still repeating the same cycle. No one gave you the tools, so you're still repeating the same cycle. And the same cycle is doing over and over and over again in each generation. Who's going to break it? Who's going to break it? God gives you the ability to break those things, but he also places therapists, coaches, there's self-help books, there's parenting classes. There's a lot of different things you can do to break this. But first and foremost, I'm going to revisit this conversation again. In order to deal with the challenges that causes the pain of co-parenting, as I've read about the failed relationship and the hurting from the breakup, you hear failure, right? and there's pain from that failure, and there's sadness, and then there's hurting from the breakup. There's something essential that you've got to do, and that's take time to heal. Many of you are not going to be effective co-parents without healing. And I'm not just talking about this situation. You've got to heal that other stuff too. That stuff from your childhood. This stuff right here, when I'm talking about, we are human. And as I really want to add, I don't even want to cross it out because I feel like that's disrespectful for my friend who did the meme. But it says a father is human. He has his own traumas, and alienating him from his children will very well activate those traumas. I'm going to read it this way. A mother is human. She has her own traumas, and alienating her from her children may activate those traumas. I'm going to read it both ways because that does exist. I know individuals who are alienated, who are women. I have a best friend who went through a small window journey. And when I say small, I'm talking about a year or so. Many of you are still counting, and you're like, I'm on 300 on whatever days. I'm on 400 and something days, and I haven't seen my children. This is also is activating those traumas for you. The breakup reminded you of the divorce your parents went through. And I don't want to get too much and jump ahead of myself for next week, but I need you to know that this co-parenting thing is much bigger than what you're looking at. I know you think it's just about this situation and this relationship, but it's not. It started way before this relationship. But this relationship is creating the challenges that you're currently dealing with. This relationship is putting you in a situation where you're going, how am I supposed to navigate this? We're not together. Anytime I'm with them, I'm feeling guilty and anxious. I'm feeling like I'm my dad and I repeated the cycle. I'm feeling like I'm my mom and I don't know how to get out of this. And my mother's in my ear. I saw something on TV. I had the TV on earlier, and I saw this woman. I don't even know what the show is. It's Taraji P. Henson and Jennifer Lewis. Jennifer Lewis is hilarious, and it's mother and daughter, and they're talking crazy to this husband, like as a tag team. It's mother and daughter, and they're tag teaming him, and it's like, whoo, is that how women talk to men? And I can tell you, I've been in groups where I had to tell Vark at one point. We were in a group and I said, I just can't do the women's group because all we keep talking about is how you're not supposed to talk to your husband. I don't talk to my husband that way. Like, I don't say any of what I was hearing on that call. Vark never been on the call, so he doesn't know. But I have never, like the stuff these women were saying to their husbands, I was like, so if you say those things when he's your husband, I can't imagine some of the stuff women say when a man ain't their husband, and they mad and they sad and they frustrated and they this, and then they tell their children these things. But this creates guilt, shame, anxiousness, triggers, frustration, all of this stuff leading up to an exchange. How do you guys ever even get to the exchange? Maybe that's why many of you don't. You have to learn how to communicate. Some of you never even learned how to communicate just one-on-one, right? That now you're struggling in this level of communication because the communication is in the midst of brokenness, sadness, frustration, trauma, pain. I'm going to ask, I only have a few people on right now, and I get it. Because I'm building this audience back up on Tuesday night. How many of you would say, I hate the exchange day? Although I'm excited to see my children, I hate the buildup and I hate the day of exchange because it causes all these emotions in me. Put a 1 in the box if that's you. Like, all of it just gets me worked up and I just don't like that part of it, right? I'm not saying you don't want to pick up your kids. I'm saying all of the stuff, the emotions that's come into play, frustration, angst, all of this. Put a 1 in the box. Put a 2 in the box if it doesn't bother you at all. Like, are they going to be there? See, yeah, the men are like 1. Thank you, men, for telling the truth about how you feel. I know the women feel the same way. They just have a lot more control. And so, see, all the men are typing 1 in the box. The men are putting 1 in the box here. Ladies, you have to realize that anxiousness, that frustration, that guilt, that shame, all of that they're showing up with, and then you come with all of this. and then you want to dictate parenting styles when the child is with them. That takes it to a whole nother level, and now we have conflict. No one wants to get a divorce. No one wants to break up, especially when you have children. No one wants that. And so now you're in the midst of that. And so now what do? You have to co-parent. You got to co-parent. Many people didn't enter into this with that expectation, but now you're here. So how do you make sure, how do you make sure your children now don't repeat this cycle? Yes, Darren, I'm sure. Don't even try it. Darren's one of my coaching clients. I know what he means by that, y'all. Yes, Darren, I am sure. Hot mess. You a hot mess. The problem is you ain't sure, but I'm sure. Nobody, look, I don't care how much women think that it's cool. I'm going to say this. I know women who are like, oh, I'll be a single mom. I'm cool with that. I promise you, they single mom right now, and they wish they hadn't made that choice. I promise you. Being a single mother isn't what they thought it was going to be. It ain't all what it's cracked up to be. I'm in rooms with women who, when they get honest, they're willing to admit, yeah, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is more work. This is more, a lot of things. They weren't prepared for that. They weren't prepared. And now they're living with something they don't know how to live with. So, yeah, Darren, I'm sure. I'm very sure about it. I want to talk to you guys tonight as well about setting boundaries. I need you to, you got to unlearn this person. I know that's part of the challenge, you think you know them. As time goes on and you've got to move on from the relationship, you got to, I don't want to, maybe unlearn is the wrong thing. Unravel yourself from this person, right? Unravel. That's not true, Darren. Pride will never let that truth show. In the right rooms, it'll come out. In the right rooms, it comes out with no problem. Women say it, I'm telling you. And let one woman say it before I go here, because Darren is, he in his, yeah. Darren. Tomorrow at 8:30, Darren. Okay. Me and you. For real. Women admit these things in a safe place, just like men admit things in a safe place. Women tell it. Maybe they're not there yet, the person you're referring to, but you never know where people are because you're not in relationship with that person. So you don't know. But I'm telling you, women, if you notice on social media, self-care is like the conversation, like it's taking place. I'm also noticing conversations where before it was like sleep is for suckers, right? You don't sleep, you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to, right? We had these seasons of phrases and vernacular. Now everyone's like, hustle, that's not even any good. That's not, oh no, I don't want to hustle hard like that. Like people are rephrasing what they want, what they're saying. Self-care, rest and relaxation, working hard about blah, blah, blah. The phrase, like that whole thing about that single mom situation, I am telling you, it is not cool. And I was in a room of like 20 women. When was this? 4th of July? And somehow we ended up having a conversation that led well into the night. We were supposed to get together this past Saturday, but several people, they've had people die from COVID, and I stay real close to home. I wanted to be in Atlanta this weekend. God says, sit your butt down. I'm not trying to catch COVID. Love y'all. I wear my mask, but I'm not trying to catch it. But I'm telling you, those women want to have that talk again. Like they're like, can we get together at least once a month? So I was going to do it again. I was going to do it here on the beach. We'd have a night on the beach. But a lot of that conversation was around the fact that they were single moms and they didn't like it. One girl, she was having an issue. And I was like, girl, you getting punked. I'll tell you the truth. Like, my son keeps calling and I didn't send him all this money over 2 weeks. And I was like, you got punked. That little boy is punking you. Your son is punking you. Well, come to find out, he decided he wanted to stay with his dad. And guess what? She let him. She was like, you want to spend summer with him? Fine. And then he was like, I want to actually live with my dad. She was like, okay, cool. I don't know how she came to that conclusion, but maybe part of it was from the conversations we had that night. Maybe. Now the little boy lives with his dad in Detroit. And now she'll switch it off. And there's no fight, there's no battle. Darren, I'm not in my feelings, not this time. I'm not having this conversation with you tonight, Darren. It's distracting right now. But I'm saying this to you to tell you, women may not share it with you, but I'm telling you, I'm in the room with women who are rethinking, reassessing, and questioning the decisions of the single mom thing. And why can't he go with dad? And then when he's with dad, why am I interfering again? That was part of the conversation on the 4th of July. That was, yeah, my son keeps calling me, or I call him and his dad's not doing this. And we were all like, there were some mature women in the room who were like, why do you care? That's what you should want for the other person, is them to be in a room full of mature women, or having at least 2 or 3 mature women in the room who are like, yeah, no, that's you. And men, you should have the same type of accountability. No, that's you. The co-parenting and the pain of it all and the conflict is you being petty. Oh, I'm not going to send her this extra money because now she done took this off the table and she done. Oh, I had that conversation today too. No, that's not a part of your agreement. You don't remove child support or the amount that you promised because you feel like she reneged on something. No, that's not what we're doing. We'll work that out as we continue to mediate or as we continue to go back and forth. But we're not doing tit for tat. We're not playing that game. And I know people are like, well, if I can't see the child, no, this person is seeing the child. So that's not what we're talking about. I also want people to recognize when you're setting up boundaries, they don't need to know. Like, let me say it this way. You don't need to know when they're going to get a haircut, when they're going to do this or that, or they going here. You don't need to know all of that. You need to know nothing about the new partner, the new this or that, or anything that doesn't pertain to the child. That's ridiculous. Every parent, when they are co-parenting, are entitled to their privacy. We have to stop blurring lines with our ex because we once were in a relationship with them, or we think parenting, I'm supposed to know everything that's going on with my child. Yeah, kind of. What you're supposed to know is they're with the parent, they're getting homework done. These are the rules that the children have at your house, and these are the rules that they have at their dad's house. Yeah, some of those rules should come together, flow nicely, but they don't always do that. And you can't dictate what's going on at the other house. I had to tell a young lady on the phone a couple weeks ago, you just got to tell your daughter, these are mommy's rules when you're at mommy's house. Daddy, you have a different agreement and different rules. But when you're here with mommy, these are mommy's rules. That's how that works. But when you are hurting and you're feeling like you're parenting alone, that's when it's hard for you to allow the other person to be the parent that they're trying to be. No one's going to be the exact parent you're going to be. That's where we get in trouble in co-parenting. Where we go, what we do. There were phone calls. There were phone calls that had, oh, you guys let her take pictures? You guys let her, and it's like, no one called me. Well, this is, at the time, I think it was 19-year-old young lady. And I'm like, we had to call you for pictures? I've had this. A grown child. Then it goes, the person's going off on the phone about, y'all didn't consult me about taking pictures. And it's like, taking pictures? A 19-year-old? This is something she said she wanted to do. So we were helping push and inspire her towards something she said she wanted to do. I've had those moments, y'all. So don't think that it doesn't go on even once they're a certain age, because the other parent is still trying to dictate. The other parent is still trying to be involved when the child is with the other parent. There's some level of involvement. That child can call and say, oh, mom, guess what I did today? I had a great time, blah, blah, blah. But for you to then involve the child into, well, why didn't anybody consult me? And why didn't it? Now you've involved the child into something that they didn't know it was a bad thing. Now you're making the child feel bad about the experience they had. That's horrible co-parenting. And that just blurs the lines of the boundaries. When the child's with the other parent, you know where they are. You don't get to know every finite detail of what's going on. But when you have high conflict, when there's pain involved, you got to be involved in everything. Who they see, who you with, what y'all eating, what they wearing for the day, all the stuff. That's gatekeeping. And how do you gatekeep a 19-year-old? Oh, trust me. The phone calls, I had a 3-way call just last September. Last September for a 24-year-old. Y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea. Looks all rosy. It ain't. Because somebody's still traumatized. And I'm going to just keep it real on here. Somebody still wants somebody's man. Somebody still wants to be involved because they want to create havoc, because they still want the relationship that was broken. And some of that's the same thing with many of you. They will do whatever they can to destroy the current situation in order to have what it is they want, even if it causes the other person pain. They will use their child, their little kid, grown kid, whatever it is, to harm the other parent. They'll use it. But when your child finds out that you use them to hurt their father or their mother, I promise you, you're going to pay dearly. You're going to pay dearly for that. The manipulation and the tools that are used are out of this world. But when you set boundaries, you can't be manipulated. But many of you are struggling with setting boundaries in these relationships because you're holding on to your fatherhood. And mostly it's men, because women ain't struggling with their parenting. Men, your fatherhood is hanging on by a thread. And so you're like, if I set these boundaries, I could lose access to my child. So I don't want to do that. And then my child, because they're an adult, they may not want to have a relationship with me because I've now set boundaries. Because your fatherhood is like dangling by a thread, and you know it. You're out of the home. You're out of the day-to-day stuff. So you're sitting here going, I've got so much pain around my co-parenting, around parenting. I don't know what to do. Ladies, you want to ask me all the time, how can a man just desert his children and go set up another family and have another family over here, and he don't even see his kids? Because you cause too much pain and conflict in the co-parenting. So he gonna go over here and do a reset and get it right. Those kids are great, having a great time. He's in that relationship. He ain't moving. That's what he's doing. Well, how? That's just so, no, it's about you. It has nothing to do with the children. It has everything to do with you. Gabriel said, yep, that's my ex. I told her that. The children will grow up and find out what you're doing, and they might hate you. I pray that hate is not in the children's heart, because that's a tough thing, but that could be the situation. That could be the situation. The pain of co-parenting is real, but you've got to put things in place. And maybe sometimes you've got to jeopardize that relationship with your children. And I don't mean not like, well, just, oh, well. No, I'm saying set the boundaries. And if they then say, well, you're not going to see your children because you're doing it, you don't move the boundaries just because someone threatens you. You call their bluff. Boundaries will cause people to act right. But if they know that you're going to keep moving the boundary, they just keep playing games with you. They keep playing games with you. They don't care. They don't care, because you're going to move it anyway. They're like, oh, child, he just saying that. He don't care. He don't care. I want to know where the child is. I want to know this. I want to know that. He doesn't care. You guys get what I'm saying? Your boundaries is your tools. It's your tool to effectively co-parent. But when you allow this person still in your space, and I'm about to go here, when you still tapping your baby mama years after y'all done broke up, while you in other relationships, while you married and you sliding over there, when you still tapping your baby mama, you skewed the lines of the boundaries. Like, no wonder she's emotionally invested. You were just having sex with her yesterday. Her emotions are tied to you. Stop it. Do you think having sex with her is going to cause her to let you see the children? You're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. If you think she's going to be like, oh, we just had sex. And yeah, I know he's got a girlfriend, but I'm his baby mama, and I'm always going to be a thing. I've seen this stuff online. It's crazy. Yeah, but he's going back to his girlfriend. And now you're going to be at home mad. Hey, Kurt, it's fine. You're going to go home mad. She's going to go home mad. And then she's going to start withholding the children from you because you hurt her feelings again. Stop compounding the trauma. Heal. Having sex with her is not going to get you access to your children. It may briefly and for a moment. I promise you, you're making the situation worse. Making it 10 times worse. I want to give some of my people on here. Yeah, Darren, that's it. It's like ripping a Band-Aid. Yeah, it's a problem. That's what got me here. I ain't tapping nothing. I'm not mad at you, Dwayne. Dwayne said that's what got me here. At least you acknowledge and you can own it. We don't want to keep making it worse. I found an app while I was looking for things for a client. I found something that may be beneficial to some of you. Who knows? You might not like it, but you might. There's something called twohouses.com. And I pulled some of my conversation from one of their blogs, just a couple of things, especially about the boundaries. I didn't talk about all that they talked about, but I liked how they have this app. I can't tell you. I don't know how much it costs. I don't even know the answer to that. Let me see. Because it does cost something. It's $12.50 a month. Not bad. That's not bad. It's literally a calendar. It's a calendar. And this calendar allows you to put in the different things that are happening at the different houses. Meaning not the dictating, not none of that. I'm talking about stuff that's going on with school, stuff that's going on, doctor's appointments. It's the goal is to help parents communicate and be organized and focus on the well-being of the children, right? That's the goal. So you're doing an overall family events, doctor's appointments, classes, extracurricular activities, whatever that is, you're able to put it in there so that you don't even have to deal with it. It does even allow you to break up some of the financial things. So there's school, because even with child support, many have to still pay extra stuff, right? It allows you to even do some financial stuff in there. I'm going to send it to you. It keeps you from having certain communication. The goal is always to have effective communication surrounding the children, right? Some of this is going to alleviate you even having to have that conversation with the spouse or the ex-spouse, right? The goal here is to do your best. Sorry, I want to make sure that got on there. Okay, yeah, it's on there. It's a great app from what I can see. I haven't tried it. I was going to refer it to some of my clients that I'm dealing with, that I was dealing with earlier today, so that you can just sync calendars. You can know when exchanges are happening because everything's going to go through me for a little while. And I want them to have a clear understanding of what's going on, especially with the two that I'm dealing with this morning. 2 times in the last 2 weeks I've had to deal with them. They gave me a headache. I think I've dealt with them 3 times in 2 weeks, and twice I had a headache. But I was looking for, like, what can I, family wizards some people use to communicate. We need more than that. We need a calendar. What's on the calendar for the kids? I don't need to call you, because if you put it on there, okay, they got tennis lessons, they got track, they got football, they got basketball, they got whatever. Okay, they got a doctor's appointment. It allows you to do this. It allows you to put it on there. Thank you, Kirk. Kirk said, perfect. That will help so much. Yeah, because sometimes you don't want to talk about these things, or you'll say, well, you didn't tell me about the doctor's appointment. You didn't tell me about they had this and that, and I scheduled blah, blah, blah. This helps with dealing with that, and you ain't even got to communicate. You don't even have to have the conversation. It's already on the calendar. And if something gets canceled, you two just have to be clear that if it gets canceled, please let me know on the calendar. Look, ask the other person to do it. You know what? You ain't even got to talk to me that much now, because this will keep you from having to talk to me. It's going to get rid of the anxiousness and all of that stuff leading up to the day. It may not totally remove it, but it's going to bring it down a whole lot when you already know what's going on, when you already can see the calendar, when you already have your children's school schedule. You know how many men don't have the school schedule for their children who are in school right now dealing with COVID? It's crazy. I know you guys are like, well, why don't they know what school their kids go to? Because mama don't tell them. She's intentionally not telling them. It's when I tell you, some of the stuff, ladies, we do is insane. Some of the stuff we do is off the charts. And I need to call him. You guys got to know it's alienation. Dads, when school starts, they're supposed to know where the children go to school. They're supposed to know the school schedule. Even if you just tell them where school they go to, the school schedule's online. You can download it, print it out, put it on the refrigerator. Like, as they say in Georgia, the refrigerator. Like, for real. Like, just put it up. Just like, why are we doing this? You're making it complicated for the children. I want to say this. Many of you were these children growing up. And now you've repeated the same thing in your adult life. The divorce you saw your parents go through that you didn't want, you now have. The unmarried, non-marital children that you saw your parents have, and you were that child, you now have. The children you have from an adulterous affair, you in it. You got it. It's yours. You said I would never do that. You made vows to yourself that you are now repeating. And part of that's your frustration in the co-parenting piece. Because every time you pick up this child, you're remembering your own childhood and the vows that you made to yourself. And you're disappointed even in yourself. You got to own that. You came on a little late, Darren. Yeah, they want vindication. They want closure. Yes, they do. Some of you do too. I know, Darren. We ain't going. I know too much. I ain't going to use Darren as mine. Gabriel says, my ex doesn't give me that info, but as a father, I go to their school and I get the info I need. I don't rely on her. Teachers have my info and call me and her for the good and the bad. That works. You got to make your presence known. That's my ex. She's alienating 2 children from 2 fathers. And Dwayne, if I asked you the question, I'm not even sure if we've talked about this before. Was she alienated? Did she grow up in a fatherless home? Was her father emotionally detached from the situation? There's something there that makes her think that that's okay. And yeah, I won't even go back to Darren's statement earlier. Accept responsibility for what has, what can, and what will. We all do. He said, yes. See, she was. We repeat cycles. We don't create them. We're repeating these cycles, and they're hurting the children. They're hurting the children. Oh, they'll be fine. Like you aren't fine. You think you are, but you're not. Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. You're not. You're alienating the children from their dad, and you think there's nothing wrong with it. You've probably got a new daddy already in place. This is your new daddy. I know people that's happened to. New daddy. How do you replace a child's DNA with some random DNA? He may provide and be there and provide some level of emotional care and support, but it's not their DNA. Children are always going to want to know their fathers. And when you don't want to know your father, that means that you are believing the narrative and the full story that your mother has told you without caring about the other side of the story. Children are lied to all the time. No, blame. We don't want anybody blaming anyone. Mark said, blame isn't useful, is it? No, blame is not that's not what we're doing. Acknowledgement is one thing. Owning your part, your journey, that's one thing. Blame, that's different. And you don't get to blame the other person. People are, look, don't take the trauma personal. That's hard. But I need you to remember that in the thick of it. Can't take this personal. Many times you guys are getting baited into a situation and don't even know it. That person is just getting off on frustrating you because it gives them that feeling. It gives them that feeling of trauma. It gives them that feeling that is familiar and comfortable to them. I know we think, oh, why would anyone want to feel that way? Being victim is comfortable for some people. Being the victim is comfortable for some people. Pain and trauma is the only identity that they know. You think that that's strange. You think that that's crazy. Yeah, for you it is, but maybe not for them. Yes, Dwayne, it is very difficult to do. But you've got to step away. I'm sorry, I'm taking these down too soon. You have to step away and say, that's not about me. That has nothing to do with me. I had to do that with my relationship with my mother this week. I was taking a moment, and this isn't about co-parenting, but this is about when you realize that ain't working, right? And this ain't my thing. This ain't mine. I kept feeling like, why are you talking to her? You're talking to her because you need some type of maternal, emotional something in this season. So I was talking to her. Not about deep stuff, but it became this place of, I need to share with my mother some things to build our relationship. And when I shared something with her, it went left, y'all. It went so far left. Yeah, you're going to watch this on YouTube, Mom. Yes, you are. It went so far left. I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but it went so far left. I had to release my mother and say, I release you. I've done it off and on where we get into arguments and it's like, it's over now. I'm not talking to you no more. But I'm that child who grew up without her father, and meeting my father put me in a position while she's watching this, whether she agrees with it or not, I don't care. I know exactly what this is. It put me in a position where my mother's salty about the fact that I built a relationship with my father. I've now created the Fatherless Generation Foundation, and I talk about the benefits of fatherhood. And sometimes I talk about the benefits of my father and my relationship with my father. Well, why don't you ever talk about me? And why don't you? And you guys, I deal with that on a regular basis, and having to deal with it makes it very awkward for me. So I don't get to have the relationship with my mother that I want to have because there are just some things there that just we can't quite get there. But after this week, I was like, this isn't mine. And I'm not going to take this personal. But what I am going to do is I'm going to release her. I'm going to release her to have the best life she can possibly have. I'm going to release her to do what it is that she's called to do without me involved in her life. Blocked you from on my phone. Can't reach me except by email. That's it. Because there comes a point for me, and some of you have to do this too, because the volatile relationship between your ex requires a track record. Some of you are giving access on a phone call that you shouldn't be doing in a co-parenting situation that is as volatile and has as much conflict as it does as yours does. It should be email and text message only so that you can keep track of what's being said. So that's part of the boundary. I had to set a boundary for myself. And the boundary was, if we're not going to be in real relationship, we're not going to be in relationship at all. If we're going to continue to be in toxic relationship, I'm going to have to remove myself because it's affecting my mental health. Now, you can reach out via email if you need something or something's going on. But other than that, no. And I'm not taking it personal. Nope. I dealt with it. I worked through it. See, I didn't suppress it either. Some of you are suppressing the pain that your ex is taking you through. And it's creating issues in your co-parenting because they're doing all these games. And every time they do it, you're like, I just got to suck it up and I just got to. Or it comes out in the conflict. There's no conflict here anymore because I've worked through it. I've healed it. It doesn't have to be conflict. Set the boundaries and say, this is the only way you can communicate with me. We're going to do this calendar thing called 2 houses. And I'm going to know what's going on with the kids' schedule when they're with you and things that I need to participate in. And when they're with me, you're going to know the schedule. So if there's things you need to participate in, and we're going to keep it very simple. Dwayne said, but I forgave her because I learned from you that it ain't her fault. Yeah, it's not. She was taught this kind of parenting. She needs to be the chain breaker. Yeah, we have to. It's not, look, it's not her fault and you can't take it personal. These are things that our parents taught us. These are part of attachment, how we attach to our parents. These are learned behaviors in our relationships with our parents. All of these things are hindering our ability to be parents once we become adults, but we've learned them in our childhood. We've learned these things in our childhood. Absolutely. That's not a lie. Still sucks though. Yep. Still sucks that I had to go. I'm done. I'm done with that, Mom. Sorry. I've been done before, you guys, but this is a different kind of done. Wow. 688 days alienated. See, that's what I told y'all earlier. People are counting. They know exactly how long they've been alienated. 688 days alienated. And that's that God forgive them for they know not what they do. She doesn't know what she's doing. She thinks she does. And to have 2 men and 2 children that she's alienating, that's going to come back and bite her in the biggest way. It's going to take a chunk out of her. See, she has them all to herself now. But Dwayne, we all know when that day comes, when the children figure it out, right? She won't have them anymore. And they may very well do exactly what I had to do with my mother, cut her off. That's why I tell you guys that story. I don't have any heart in my heart concerning my, I don't have any hate in my heart concerning my mother. I have nothing but love and forgiveness for my mother. But there comes a point where you go, I can't do this with you anymore. I would do it because Varric wanted to have a stepmom, have, a mother-in-law. And I really wanted him to have that. And it's like, well, my bonus mom is pretty cool, but she's not my mom. I wanted him to have brother-in-law. And I was doing things because I wanted my husband to have that relationship that every spouse desires. But when you're tied to me, that I gotta keep it real now. You're just not gonna get that. You're gonna get it from Mom Daisy. And I got some other siblings and some nieces and nephews you can meet, but not my brother. Because people get pulled in. And I don't fight anymore to prove that I'm dope. I don't fight anymore to prove that I'm amazing, even though I know that I come from a fatherless home. And there were some things in that conversation and in that wash might not have been alienation, Dwayne, but it wasn't full honesty either. Right? So I have to walk through this journey as an adult woman and say, I'm the child. Dwayne's 688 days. I'm the child. And I'm now going, see, moms, look at me and realize what you're going to have. No, we can't be in relationship right now. Maybe never. I'm good. Because I realized there was no healing that took place. I've been doing all the healing work. And I've realized through this journey that I've been on for the last, 5 months now, there were even some things in my relationship that maybe I wasn't communicating out of my mouth, but in my body and in how I maneuvered in my marriage, there were some questionable behaviors based on an anxious attachment that I had with my mother that I was putting on my husband. You guys got to know, This stuff follows children. This stuff follows children into their adult life. And you're saying, no, it doesn't. My children are good. They're successful. They have great relationships. They're this and they're that. And I'm telling you, with tears in my eyes, this stuff affects your children. It affects them. But you want to keep alienating. You want to keep playing games, and you want to keep going back and forth. Kirk says you shouldn't revoke your own growth and peace for another. Whole message right there. Even when it's your parents. Honoring my mother is something I'll always do. But I don't have to be in relationship to keep the scripture alive in my life. I can still honor her without being in a relationship. I pray that it doesn't come to that. I just don't want my son to hurt. Unfortunately, Dwayne, this much time away from you is causing him hurt. And I know you don't want it to come to that because that's not God, right? That's not what we want. But it may. And I'm saying that because I want any mother who's watching or any father who's watching, who's alienating a child, I want you to look at me and realize that you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on aspects of your children's adult life because you're choosing to alienate them and not co-parent in the formative years of these children's lives. There's pain that goes along with co-parenting, but it's your responsibility to heal so that you can effectively co-parent with the other person, the one other person who loves your children just as much as you do. I'm going to get off of here because I'm going to start going into next week's conversation a little too early, and I don't want to because we've talked about it a little bit with Dwayne's situation. This is all coming from the childhood, and we'll get into that. I did call my mama out on here tonight. Sorry. Not sorry. I'm just can't do it. You will have to set boundaries, and when people don't want to deal with them boundaries, it'll be, you got to let it go. Until people respect you as to who you are and your peace and your growth. And I love what Kurt said. You shouldn't revoke your own growth and peace for another. That's a thing. Good night, Dwayne. Thank you for joining. And those who are watching in replay, I'm going to end it with that. Those who are watching in replay, please put replay in the box. I know I waited too late to say that, but this is an emotional thing for me to watch you guys go through this much pain just to co-parent. I'm praying that those who are alienating, who are struggling, will see this and see a different side and a different perspective and make a decision to co-parent differently, co-parent effectively. All right. So I'm going to get off of here. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we're going to talk about the pain of co-parenting. It causes you to revisit the dysfunction and trauma of your childhood. All right. I'm Dr. Tory J, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. All right. Bye-bye.